Age discrimination, a painful physical condition and a traumatic act of sexual violence. Isabella Rossellini may be one of her generation's most revered film actors, but she's also faced far too many tragedies throughout her life. Isabella Rossellini experienced much upheaval in her childhood thanks to her mother and father's turbulent relationship. She was just 5 when her famous parents, actress Ingrid Bergman and director Roberto Rossellini, divorced. Alongside 2 of her siblings, Isabella spent the following 2 years living across the road from her father in a Rome hotel with their housekeeper.
And Mama stayed in Paris.
Sadly, Isabella didn't have much contact with her mother during this period. She even told the New York Times that she never felt like she missed her mum. Isabella also belatedly dealt with the issue of her parents' split in a 17-minute film she created titled "My Dad is 100 Years Old." She explained to Interview, "I played myself talking to myself playing my mum, saying, 'Why did you divorce?' And my mother gives a description of my father's character, how wonderful and difficult it was to be married to him." In 1982, Isabella appeared on the cover of Vogue for the very first time, a clear sign that her career was in its ascendancy. However, her mother never got to see her achieve her full potential as she died earlier in the year at the age of 67. Ingrid Bergman's death also came 3 years before her daughter landed her American breakthrough role in White Nights. Isabella told People in 2022, "She never saw my success as an actress. She was not with me when I had my own children or became a grandmother." But Isabella also believes that even decades on, her late mother is still leading the way. She said to People, "Mama had this physical energy, like a Scandinavian Viking. When she walked, I always felt I was behind her, trying to catch up. I'm still catching up to Mama today." When she was 11 years old, Isabella was diagnosed with scoliosis and had to undergo a complicated surgery. As a result, she spent much of her early teenage years in a head-to-toe cast.
So I have a very, very bad back.
Throughout this difficult period, Isabella was looked after by both her mother and twin sister, but Bergman couldn't be by her daughter's bedside when she had a similar procedure in her 50s, as the Hollywood icon had already passed away. Isabella later told the New Zealand Herald, "I missed my mother terribly because she was the perfect nurse." Unfortunately, Isabella had to play nurse herself when her own daughter, Elettra, was also diagnosed with scoliosis. Elettra was forced to wear a back brace between the ages of 12 and 17 upon learning she had the condition. As if all the spinal surgeries weren't enough, Isabella also had to undergo an operation for appendicitis at the age of 5. It was a hugely worrying time for her father in particular, as the exact same condition had taken the life of his firstborn just over a decade earlier. Indeed, Isabella never got the chance to meet her older half-brother, Marco Romano Rossellini, who Roberto shared with his second wife, Marcella Di Marcus. In 1946, Marco Romano died at the age of 9 from a ruptured appendix, shortly before the director was due to start work on Germany Year Zero. Roberto later dedicated the film to Marco. In 1997, Isabella revealed in her autobiography, Some of Me, that a slightly older boy had sexually assaulted her in her teenage years. But the star didn't offer any further information, a stance that she continued to take in the wake of the Me Too movement. Isabella argued that although she understood talking about such experiences can be beneficial to others, she saw little value in digging up the past. She told Vulture, "The person that raped me, I was 15 or 16, he was a year older than I. Why would I dig out this story 48 years later? What if people start to say, 'No, you have to say the person's name'?" Isabella then wondered aloud about the effect such a revelation might have on the man's life, including any possible marriages or children. She told the outlet, "I don't think that pinpointing one person and destroying their life because they made a sin in the context of that culture, I don't have the heart for it." However, the Emmy winner also expressed relief that the culture was changing. She said to Vulture, "We just lived with it. This is changing, I think. Men have to see they can't behave in these ways. For me, the interesting thing is how the Me Too movement has shown us all the subtle ways women can be diminished." You may find it hard to believe, but Isabella Rossellini doesn't have a single Academy Award nomination. And although she's appeared in some of the most critically acclaimed films of the last half-century, you can count her major box office successes on one hand. So why did the Italian-American never make it quite as big as she deserved to? Well, Isabella herself believes that both her heritage and her accent may have played a part. She lamented to Harper's Bazaar in 2021, "I would have loved to have a huge Hollywood career, but I became an actress when it was closed up."
I think that I speak English perfectly.
Isabella has been married twice, to filmmaker Martin Scorsese and model John Wiedemann. However, both marriages ended in divorce. But the relationship failure that appeared to have hit her the hardest was her split from director David Lynch. She began dating Lynch in 1986 after appearing in his cult classic Blue Velvet, but the pair went their separate ways in 1991. And judging by an interview she gave to WENN, Lynch was responsible. She told the outlet, "David was the big love of my life, and I believed that he loved me the same way, but obviously I was mistaken. All my instincts told me we were a happy couple, but we weren't." Isabella was left so distraught by the split that she sought professional advice to help in her recovery. She admitted, "I spoke afterwards with other women who had been through the same thing, and I took therapy, but the thing that helped me the most was time." In 1996, Isabella found herself on the receiving end of society's obsession with youth when Lancôme ended their 14-year working relationship, effectively dropping her from their advertising campaigns. The actor was 43 at the time and was told that she was no longer able to sell the dream of staying forever young. Isabella still seemed burned by the whole ordeal when she spoke to the Irish Independent several decades later, telling the outlet, "I can't say I wasn't sad. I know how to pose, I know how to give expression, and I had all this wonderful experience, but I couldn't exercise it or offer it to anyone. Yes, it was painful." However, Isabella surprised everyone when she returned to the brand in 2016. When asked by The Guardian why she didn't reject Lancôme's offer to return, Isabella replied, "There was that feeling when a friend asked why I was going back. I said, because I'm flattered, I'm very touched, I miss them. It's very personal, but I don't know whether I'm being forgiving."
I see you, little thing.
After David Lynch broke her heart, Isabella faced another romantic setback in the mid-1990s when actor Gary Oldman left her for another woman. Isabella and Oldman had fallen head over heels for each other after meeting on the set of 1994 biopic Immortal Beloved. But their plans to get married stalled due to Oldman's alcoholism. So when Isabella told him to either clean up his act or risk losing her, Oldman checked into a rehab facility. But unfortunately for Isabella, Oldman didn't just leave with a newfound sobriety, he also left with a new girlfriend. During the program, Oldman met and subsequently struck up a relationship with model Donia Fiorentino. The pair went on to marry later that same year. They also had 2 sons before ending things in 2001. As well as finding that her accent and heritage were a barrier to mainstream success, Isabella also discovered that middle age held her back from being cast in film roles. Just look at the star's filmography from the late 90s onward, and instead of the acclaimed awards fair that had become her trademark, you'll see plenty of little-known efforts that went straight to video. In a 2016 interview with The Guardian, Isabella reflected on Hollywood's attitudes towards aging and acknowledged that the adage, "age ain't nothing but a number," doesn't hold true. Luckily, she was warned ahead of time to prepare for such discrimination. She told The Guardian, "My mum told me that there is no job for women between 45 and 60, because you are in between. You are not young enough to play the young girl, but you are also not old enough to play the matriarch, the witch or grandmother."
That's ageism, is the belief that women only want to be a sexual object.
She went on to explain that women actors face a 15-year limbo period when Hollywood struggles to cast them, before adding, "Then, after 60, a lot of work comes back. That was true for my mum." Indeed, in recent years, Isabella has returned to more esteemed projects, from surrealist comedy Problemista to the drama Conclave. Today's cinephiles will no doubt be aware of Ingrid Bergman and Roberto Rossellini. After all, Bergman was in iconic movies like Casablanca and won 3 Academy Awards, while Roberto Rossellini was the director at the forefront of the Italian neorealism.
I have never been the daughter of different parents, so I don't have any term of comparison.
Right?
However, Isabella believes that when it comes to the general public, the 2 silver screen legends have been consigned to history. In a 2024 interview with Variety, Isabella admitted that she used to find it difficult to always be introduced as the offspring of cinematic royalty, rather than an artist in her own right. However, she'd now like nothing more than to be referred to as such. She told the outlet, "The younger generation doesn't know them, and it breaks my heart. Their reputations outlive them, but fame is very brief." Isabella had previously spoken about her parents' legacies in a more philosophical manner for her 1997 autobiography, Some of Me. In it, she pondered, "Is being remembered a kind of antidote to death? Is fame a sort of eternity?" If you or anyone you know has been a victim of sexual assault, help is available. Visit the Rape, Abuse and Incest National Network website or contact RAIN's National Helpline at 1-800-656-HOPE 4673.